I'm Amy Jo Martin. Welcome to the Why Not Now show. You know that thing you've been thinking about doing? Yeah, that one. Why not now? Have you ever actually taken the time to ask yourself, what's stopping me? Let's talk it through. This is your chance to give that idea the attention it deserves and take action. Each episode, I have a chat with a fascinating person, from entrepreneurs to athletes, celebrities, my parents, rocket scientists, and all walks of life. We talk through a critical time when they've asked themselves, why not now? We dissect that day or even that moment, step by step. Hi, everyone. Quick favor before we dive in. If you are digging this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. It just takes a moment and it means a ton to us. Also, after recording more than 100 episodes, I've created a bit of a cheat sheet on the top 5 things I've learned from renegades and how they get from idea to action, from dreaming to doing. I will email you the downloadable PDF when you subscribe to my newsletter. Just head to amyjomartin.com and click on Connect with Me. Hello, everyone. Big announcement today. Pretty excited about this one. You might have heard Brian Danielson and I recently joke about starting a book club. This was during episode 80. Well, in pure Why Not Now fashion, we did it. The Why Not Now Read a Book Club is in full effect. We're reading 1 book a month, and we'd love for you to join us. To join the club, just read the book and then share your thoughts and photos on social media using the hashtag WhyNotNowReadABook. It's that simple. Brian and I will review the book each month here on the podcast and also share some of your feedback from social media. The first book is titled Factfulness by Hans Rosling. The subtitle is 10 Reasons We're Wrong About the World and Why Things Are Better Than You Think. So I recently started reading this book, and it is truly fascinating. I'm learning a great deal. But don't just take my word for it. Bill Gates has also endorsed the book. He said, quote, "It's one of the most important books I've ever read, an indispensable guide to thinking clearly about the future." So that's not too shabby of an endorsement, is it? So if you're wanting to spend a little less time either watching TV or maybe less time scrolling down the rabbit hole on social media, here's a great excuse to get started. This book will make you think. Jenna Kutcher is on the show today. She's a small-town girl, and at age 23, she realized she was climbing a ladder that was leaning against the wrong wall. She left her comfy corporate job, and she took a $300 Craigslist camera and turned it into a 7-figure business. So what does Jenna do? She does a lot. She's a photographer, a podcaster, educator, and an online influencer, among other things as well. I came across Jenna after a recent situation where a simple photo of her and her husband went viral. And even though I'm not a fan of the term viral, and I cringe when I hear it, this photo truly did spread like wildfire across the internet, from People magazine to Fox News and every other outlet covering it. Her following has nearly doubled to over 500,000 on Instagram since this happened. And what was it about this photo? The story behind this is quite bizarre, and she explains. In this episode, you'll hear exactly how Jenna navigated her why not now moment of leaving her corporate job and starting her own business. She also shares her thoughts on influencer marketing, where it's going, and top tips for Instagram, among many other things that we discuss. One of the things I really appreciate about Jenna is that it seems she's found a harmony between hustling, being scrappy, and truly enjoying life's pace at the same time, without getting burnout. We tackle the most taboo topics on the Why Not Now show. Oftentimes, you're hearing guests share things they've never shared before. In the spirit of things we don't typically talk about, you should know that the Why Not Now show is supported by Poo-Pourri. Yep, the original before you go toilet spray. It's magic. My friends at Poo-Pourri have literally taken the smell out of you know what. This pure blend of essential oils stops bathroom odor before it begins. Visit poopourri.com, and Why Not Now listeners get 20% off with code Why Not Now. That's all one word. Also, you can now get Poo-Pourri at Target. We all seem to know someone who's about to have a baby. And the question is, what do we get them as a gift? Do we really go to that registry and scroll through those sometimes boring items? Or do we wow them with something different and unique? I have a solution for you. It's called Baby Beats. Baby Beats are one-of-a-kind songs created using the recorded heartbeat of the baby in utero. The song is coupled with a video that includes photos of the expecting parents and their journey to parenthood, and then it's delivered to you in a cute little wooden box with a USB drive inside. It's adorable. Baby Beats are a great solution for baby shower gifts, or even for announcement videos for the expecting parents themselves. They can share these on social media, and it's really unique. If you are interested in Baby Beats, head to yourbabybeats.com, and you get a 25% discount as a Why Not Now listener. So at checkout, enter in Why Not Now as your coupon code, Why Not Now, no caps, and you get 25% off. Head to yourbabybeats.com. Jenna, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Amy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's hop right in. In the spirit of Why Not Now, can you tell me about a time when you had to ask yourself, why not now? We'll dissect that day, that minute, that hour, and really see what we can glean through your decision-making process.
I feel like I ask myself, why not now every single day?
Good.
But one of the biggest moments that I remember is when I was 23 and I was about to put in my 2 weeks notice for my corporate job. I went to college. I wanted to be in corporate America. I studied corporate marketing and I landed what I thought was my dream job. And I come to find that here I am in this windowless office with a pile of paperwork and a team that constantly needed me. And I realized I don't want to climb this ladder. They were priming me for those next positions, those next steps, and I didn't even want them. And so I had taken a $300 Craigslist camera and turned that into a passion. And that passion led to a business. Now, I had never taken an art class. I had never attended a photography workshop. I didn't know how to shoot in manual. I was nothing special, but I knew that somehow that camera could be my one-way ticket out of this office and into a life that I was designing. And so here I was for the first time in my life about to quit a job. And I wondered, am I making the biggest mistake of my life? But why not now?
So you're 23 too, and I think that's such an interesting part of the story. At the time, you were 23, because we are wired to go and work hard and climb that ladder, and you realized at that young age, you didn't even have your ladder up against the right wall. You wanted to change it already. So that's pretty remarkable right there, just having that vision for yourself and that self-awareness, I guess you would say. So do you remember a literal moment where it was a day, maybe it was sitting at your desk. Was there like a specific hour or day that you decided to green light this different dream?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people who I needed to know that if I was going to jump, if I was going to leap, that the net would be there. And I was raised in a conservative Midwest home where you punch that time clock and you work hard and you show up and you collect that paycheck and you enjoy those benefits. And that was what you do. But I also remember sitting down and I crunched the numbers and I said, how many people do I have to convince to book me in order to match my salary? And I sat down and I thought, okay, I was just a bride. How much was I willing to pay for wedding photography? And I took that number and I said, okay, if I can get 25 couples to believe in me, then that's all I need to do in order to match a salary and punch that ticket out of there. And so I sat at my desk at my corporate job and I ran the numbers and I figured out, okay, if I want to charge this, what do I need to include? And how can I do this? And how in the heck can I convince 25 people to trust me enough when I had no experience? And so I created this little schedule. I created this little budget. And I started printing them out at work, and I would run over to the printer to make sure nobody intercepted them because I wasn't doing what I should have been doing. But it was noticing that I was passionate about that when I was in that office, I was thinking about something else. I was dreaming about something else. I was researching something else. And it took a lot of guts because I grew up in a family where you don't quit. Like, you don't quit anything. You don't let anyone down. You just keep showing up. And so, as you can imagine, my parents were like, wait a second, like, you just went to 4 years of college to get the job you have, and now you're throwing it all away to try to figure out something totally new that you have no experience in. But I think that challenge from them was really what caused me to say, I got to do this. Like, if I don't believe in myself enough to do this, why should anyone else believe in me? And so I took that little budget. And I took that little list of things that I thought I needed to do, and I started burning the candle on both ends. And it took me almost a full year from that day to actually put in my 2-week notice, which, by the way, I had my mom proofread it because I was so nervous about submitting it.
I love this. So you did. This is, okay, one of the key things you said was you crunched the numbers. You worked the numbers out. And to me, that's a common thread with renegades and people that come on this show is they figure things out from an analytical standpoint to where they know they have the inspiration and they have the drive and all of that. But in order to feel safe and logical, they work it out. But so many people don't do that. So there are a lot of, times where you'll hear someone talk about something they want to do and they just think it's so far out. But when you sit down and actually work out the numbers and maybe start to get creative and adjust what your current spending looks like, it's much more attainable. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that.
Oh, absolutely. I am not afraid to admit I am obsessed with numbers because in a world of creatives and art and passion and inspiration, numbers give me clarity. They give me very clear yeses and clear nos. They give me goals and objectives to work towards. And so every big decision that I've made in my life, I go back to the numbers, whether it was buying a condo in Hawaii or choosing to invest in a mastermind or whatever that looks like. I always have to run numbers. And I think that that's so important because a lot of times people that are dreamers, we can see the dream, we can see the vision, but you can't chase your dreams and do them for a living if you're not actually profitable. And so I am so thankful that I took the time and I gave myself 1 year. I said, you've got 1 year to make this happen. And that's exactly what I did.
So how did you get the 25 weddings?
Oh my gosh. I was the scrappiest human you have ever met.
Tell me.
I was the girl. So this is pre-Pinterest era, which is amazing to think about. But I was in that age where I had just finished college. I'd been working my corporate job for a few years, and a lot of people were getting married. And that was back when Facebook's newsfeed wasn't so great at the algorithm, and it would tell you every time somebody got engaged. I would literally slide into every single inbox that I could, and I had this little template that I would send out saying, hey, I saw that you're engaged. Congrats. I would love to be a part of your big day. Now, I also made a really pivotal decision to invest. And looking back, I probably would have done things a little bit differently, but I think it was a really big reason why I was able to do this. And so I started advertising on a very popular wedding platform. And at the time, it was a stretch. It was a couple $100s a month. And, we were still paying off our college loans. We were living in this tiny little village. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I am putting down money every single month, telling myself that I'm worth it. But at the same point, I knew that I needed help to reach people. I didn't know anybody in the area we were living in. We didn't have any connections. I didn't know anyone in the industry. And so I remember the exact moment I was driving into my corporate job. I was on the phone with a salesperson who, let me tell you, was amazing at her job, convincing me that I had all the things that it took to be successful. And she told me how much it was going to cost to advertise. And I remember thinking, oh my God, my husband is going to kill me, but I really think I need to do this. And so I committed to a year of advertising, and I really made sure that my profile stood out. So I didn't want to just blend in with every other person. And doing that, within the first week, I booked a wedding that made back the entire investment.
Nice.
And so, like I said, I am a numbers girl. And I said, if I can book one wedding at this rate, it'll pay for this entire year of advertising. And so that year of advertising really helped propel me to give people this awesome experience so that the second year, I didn't need it anymore. I had word of mouth, and that's kind of how I got going.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's amazing that you were able to gain that momentum so quickly, but you still were able to have a corporate gig that you were coexisting with as well. So you must have really been hustling. Let's fast forward just a little bit here. So it's been a wildly successful run this far, and I'm sure it's only continuing. And you've even recently had some huge spikes in your progress. Tell me a little bit about the journey and what's happened recently.
Sure. So this all happened 7 years ago when I started, and I was just known as a Wisconsin wedding photographer. That was my identity. That was my brand. And 3 years in, I was on this upward trajectory. I was booking more. I was named the top wedding photographer in the state. And I realized once again that I was climbing this ladder towards a place that wasn't bringing me joy. I was just straight up burnt out. I was shooting 30 weddings in a really condensed summer season of Wisconsin, and I was missing time with my family, missing opportunities to actually just be alive. And so I hit a very critical point where I said, either I need to cut back or I am going to be out. Like, I am going to have to quit this industry that I worked so hard to get into. And so the last 3 years have been all about cutting back when it comes to wedding photography. I went down to 15 weddings, and then I went down to 8 weddings. And this year I have 3 weddings, and we're actually phasing out that area of my business, the one that got my start. But we've chosen to pivot in a direction that really serves our lives and really excites me. And so in the last year, I started my own podcast, the Gold Digger Podcast, which has been wildly successful. I've been able to teach other entrepreneurs, but even beyond that, I've been able to reach the world in a way of vulnerability and authenticity in talking about some of the hard stuff of life. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about being taken seriously is that you have to be perfect. And I cannot find that to be further from the truth. The more authentic I show up online, the more it resonates and the more that we gain attention. And so we recently went viral for a post all about body image. I'm very passionate about body image and sharing my journey with my personal body and just the struggles that I've had as a woman, as someone who's experienced miscarriage. And I had a post that went absolutely viral about me and my husband. My husband, he's so handsome. Oh my goodness. He has a 6-pack for days, abs like you wouldn't believe, and he's a health teacher. He teaches people how to be healthier. And here I am, a size 10 woman in a size 2 world with curves and cellulite and bumps. And I felt insecure about that. When I walk the beaches of Hawaii, I tell myself stories of people judging us just because of the way we look, which, let's be honest, probably no one is even giving us a second glance. But I talked about that, and it got picked up by every media outlet out there. And our followings, they doubled overnight. And it was the craziest experience of our lives.
Yeah, and that's actually how I learned about you. So a friend of mine, yeah, and then I started to learn more about your path, and yet the awareness just spiked and started to transcend your, normal following and the people that were in your pathways. So I imagine now there are eyeballs on you that you've never had, and You have more than 500,000 followers on Instagram. It's really fascinating to watch this world of influencer marketing and just social media. So I started in social back before there was, ever any Insta, and Twitter was brand new for the most part. And it was kind of the wild, wild west, as you did pre-Pinterest as a wedding photographer. And so much has changed and evolved. And I've been just kind of witnessing this happen as a little stalker person on your Insta account, from a marketing, but also from just a human perspective of, you mentioned vulnerability and authenticity. They can be present, and that doesn't mean that, how did you say that? You don't have to be perfect. And you said it much more eloquently though, but it resonated. So we know that and we hear that, but to actually practice it and see it in action is really something pretty cool, because what that tells me is that the world is craving it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there's plenty of people to follow on these social media platforms. So what has been the biggest change to your life personally after this?
Yeah, I mean, no one can prepare you for going viral. It's entirely out of your control. And I'm a strategy girl. I love social media. I love strategy. But when that happens, it's like it hits the fan and you are left to figure out how to navigate this totally new world. And for me, it's definitely been interesting. It's not been all pretty or all amazing with all these new followers. It's really gotten inside of my head in a way, because I was one of those people that slowly grew over time. It was so organic. I felt like I knew my followers. I felt like I knew who I was speaking to. Pre-going viral, I had almost 200,000 followers that were highly engaged. And all of a sudden, we are showing up on every news media outlet in this story, which we laugh at. Like, how is this even a story? We weigh different weights and we love each other. Why is this weird? But
I think that's why
clearly,
it became,
yes,
it just would feed off of itself because people couldn't believe it, but then also it just resonated.
Yeah.
That was part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like hilarious because I am not obese. I am a size 10. I am not even plus size by the standards of this world. Yet, I think that so many women and men feel like you can't measure up. Like there's something in your life that has left you broken and unable to be worthy of receiving actual love. And I think that was why that story really took off, is that we've all felt that way, whether it's the way we look or the amount of money we make or the titles we hold. And so my life has changed in good ways and in bad ways. I have gained this attention in a way that allows me to really spread a message and make an impact more than just an income. And body positivity is something that I'm really passionate about. It's the hardest work I've ever done. I'm the most imperfect person who struggles with it every day. But it's something that needs to be talked about. It's also impacted my life in a negative way. I feel like I have built up walls to protect myself. Mm-hmm. I almost feel embarrassed of the following. We just moved right after we went viral, and all of our neighbors call us the celebrities, and it's embarrassing. Like it's hard. It makes me already feel judged before people know me. And it's made like making friends kind of challenging. I feel like people always want something from you. And it's really made me go inward with myself and really battle the feeling of being judged without actually getting known for who I am. And so, it's been this like beautiful, blessed journey that is entirely broken and messy. But at the end of the day, it's been mostly positive with a little negativity sprinkled in there.
Well, I have to hat tip you, because from afar, you definitely have not only been able to harness this in a way where, as you said, your platform now, you probably feel a sense of responsibility to talk about the things that you feel are important and make an impact. But just even strategically and harnessing this opportunity appears to be very well done too, in not a contrived way, but to sustain that authenticity through this and vulnerability too is what will continue, is what's just, because that's what it's truly like. Everybody has a magic decoder as they're flying through their feeds, and they can just sense, like, nope, not being real. So thank you for sharing that. I really do appreciate it. And it's a big topic that I am becoming more and more willing to talk about. But even myself, coming from a very corporate, just very straight-laced kind of world where I thought I had to be a certain person at work or with my company versus kind of the more vulnerable side, I'm starting to realize, even though I knew it intuitively, I'm starting to actually practice that and get more comfortable with that. So it does help. It helps to have leaders. So in the same vein, but also a little bit different, where is influencer marketing going next? What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's such an interesting question. I think one of the craziest parts of going viral is suddenly we were getting approached by so many brands that wanted us. And I've done influencer marketing for years, but it was just this onslaught of people. And I genuinely think that influencer marketing is going in a direction where brands that are smart are choosing people that actually have influence. I think that in the past, people would look at the amount of followers, which we all know. Sometimes people don't have real followers. You know those accounts. And I feel like I just sat down with a brand the other day that I'm working with. We sat in their office and I just shared, like, if you're choosing me, you're choosing to trust my judgment. You're using to let me speak in a way that my audience likes to be spoken to. You are allowing me to share your product in a way that I truly use it. And so I think that if marketers are getting smart and companies are getting smarter, they are going to actually choose influencers that have influence and know how to use it in a way that is not just going to promote their brand, but it's also going to continue to build the trust of their followers. And I think that for so many businesses, when they first started using social media marketing, they just wanted their people to be talking billboards, just like the traditional ads. And it just doesn't resonate that way. And so I'm really excited because I'm hoping that it's a more authentic approach, but it also takes a lot of discernment on an influencer's part to know if something is the right fit or not. And when you're forcing something that you maybe shouldn't be sharing.
Absolutely. In order to sustain that relationship with your following, but also with the brands, to be able to convert. Yeah. And it's really intriguing because I started a company 10 years ago, and it was one of the first social media agencies. And we developed a formula called the new ROI, return on influence, and patented it. And this was before there was really any way to measure or be held accountable for, what social media was really worth and why, and getting spend behind it with corporate brands and stuff. And it continues to evolve and shift in how that influence sticks. And one of the things that I'm seeing more and more is that, and I just read an article on this the other day, celebrities actually are not as influential in a lot of cases than a peer-to-peer type of influence or a net promoter score type of influence. So it's really going to be interesting to see where everything goes. And then you add the algorithms in there, and it's kind of back to the wild, wild west.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I heard Tim Ferriss say recently on a podcast, he was referring to a conversation with a friend who really relies on Facebook marketing. And when it works, it works. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. And we've all seen this, and to a certain extent, a lot of, if you're a marketer or have a company and have used it, then yeah, you get that. And Tim was just saying, what is it like to have so much depending on Facebook advertising, which isn't the same as influencer advertising, but his friend's response was, it's like building a business on top of a volcano. It's constantly, I just thought that analogy was so right on, because it's it's constantly changing. And so yeah, this is a new route. So I think you're sitting pretty. I think you're definitely going to continue to grow and be a target for these brands.
Yeah. We're excited. We're choosing to just work with 3 brands on long-term campaigns than to take a bunch of one-off posts. So
Smart.
we had to make some decisions and just say, what do we believe in? Enough to share about it a few times a month. And we just feel really in alignment with that, which is exciting.
That's awesome. Before we change gears from social media, given your success, a few top tips that people could do right now if they're wanting to grow their relationships, grow their influence. Maybe it's to promote their business specifically for Instagram.
Yeah. So first things first, show up in your feed. If I click to your feed and I don't see your face in the first 9 tiles, I probably won't trust you. And I actually don't follow accounts unless I know who is posting. And so a lot of times entrepreneurs tend to hide behind their work, hide behind their products or services, and you lose the heart component. And I think that people buy from people. We don't buy goods and services, we buy from human hearts. And so the first tip would be to show up in your feed beyond your bio photos so that I know whose voice I'm listening to and whose work I'm seeing. The second thing would be don't post and ghost. So many people are obsessed with these apps that are telling them the best time to post. And so they're posting at the oddest hours where they don't actually have time to commit to engaging with their audience in the app. And so make sure if you are going to sit down and put up a post that you set aside 20 minutes to actually engage with your followers, to go onto their accounts and like them back, to comment back to their comments, to create an Instagram story leading people to your most recent post. And then my last thing would be to have a call to actions in every single post. You don't want any of your posts to be a dead end. So what do you want people to do after they finish reading it? Do you want them to double tap? Do you want them to comment below? Do you want them to tag someone else? Do you want them to go to your website? Make sure that every single post has a call to action that invites engagement, because sometimes we just need to invite people to do the actions that we want them to take.
Great tips. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Humans connect with humans, not logos, right? That's one of the things that's, it's amazing. We want to know, we want to connect and see who you are. So, random question, but what did you study in college?
I was a double major with business and communication. So I specialized in PR, and then I had an economics minor. So I totally visualized like a corner office wearing power suits and high heels. And I'm sitting here in my pajamas living my best life. So
I did the same. I think it was New York City, Madison Avenue in a big ad agency or something, and high heels. And I'm sitting in the same thing in the forest in a studio. That's awesome. I'm excited to follow along and really gonna see where else your path goes. A couple other questions. One of which it's one of my favorites, and that's, what's one lesson you've had to learn over and over?
It is to loosen my grip and to open my hands for possibilities. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes that I made in this whole journey was believing that lie that I had to do everything, that I had to be the one pushing, that I had to be the one responding to emails, editing every image, writing every blog post. And it took me a very long time to even be able to ask for help. And so learning how to ask for help and flexing that muscle until you get so good at it is one of the best things that you can do. And for me, I was sidelined when we had our first miscarriage. I had been literally the only person working on and in my business. And when we got that news and I was just sidelined with grief, I knew that if I stopped moving, everything would stop. And that was when I realized, like, I need to stop white knuckling this baby. I need help. And that was when I made my first hire. And now I have a whole team. I have people that are helping me move my business when we take a month off in Hawaii, or when I need just a couple days to rest and recharge. I know that my business is still moving the needle. It's still bringing in profits. And I'm supporting a team of women that are doing their jobs in a way that brings them life.
Amazing. And one thing you mentioned twice was you realized you were climbing the wrong ladder, or that you didn't want to climb that one anymore. And I think it's important that that's happened more than once. And so you've
Mhm.
adjusted. It's not like you found the one last golden ladder. And for you to be honest and saying, no, you know what? I wanted to pivot from wedding photography and do this. And any other thoughts that listeners might be able to glean kind of from that process and that journey that you're navigating of knowing, you know what, the ladder might change again.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's literally changing every day. And I kind of love that. I think one of the biggest things that I love to teach people is that you have to build a brand and not just a business. A business sells products and services. A brand is a true personality. And the only reason I've been able to pivot in a million different directions is because I created a true brand, something that people actually care about and are invested in. And so we continue to change and ebb and flow. We're making decisions about what is the next step for us. And so when I look back, I was just a wedding photographer. That was it. I was a business. And now I have a brand with a podcast and a condo in Hawaii and courses and a shop and physical products and digital products. And I think that what is so interesting is that now I have so many different streams of revenue that if any one of them ended or died today, we would be just fine. And so it's been just this process of evaluating what is bringing me joy, what is sucking my life, and how do we discern what is our best yeses and what are our gentle no's. And we have been saying no so much more in order to really focus on what our best yeses are.
And with the no's, do you find sometimes is it getting easier? I imagine after an influx of inbound kind of opportunities, but I heard someone recently say, no is a full sentence. The one word is a full sentence. Do you feel that you have to back it up with no because XYZ? Or are you just kind of owning it? No, thank you.
So I just have gatekeepers now because I know I am a yes girl. Like I am a people pleaser. I love to make people happy. I love to say yes. And so I have made my team become my gatekeepers so that I don't even see those inquiries because I know I'm going to have FOMO and I'm going to feel tempted and I'm going to think something could be my next big break. And I'm going to invest my time in building other people's missions and businesses and not building my own. And so even today, we turned down 20 sponsorships and we're only looking at 3. And so my team is in charge of figuring out what is best for the brand, what is the best fit, is this going to make sense? And then I say the final yes or no. And so there are a lot of gates to get to me, and that's exactly how I need to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. That's great that you realize you don't even have to spend that energy then. And how do you keep your mind healthy, Jenna?
I sleep a lot. We are lovers of sleep, and we really limit phone time and screen time. I think that there is just this desire to constantly consume. And I think it comes from this fear of what would happen if we were actually quiet with ourselves. What would we discover about ourselves? What would we learn? And so I am a huge believer in not looking at your phone first thing in the morning, not opening your inbox first thing in the morning, but really creating first before consuming, and really just sticking to breaks and shutting off. And I think that for so long, I never had an end time for work. I always had my computer right next to me, ready for that next email, that next task. And it's just impossible to keep up. And so self-care isn't a self-indulgence. It's a real need. And we have to prioritize because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And that's a lesson that so many of us need to learn over and over and over again.
Yes, I love to hear that. Sleep is such a high priority. We know what happens when we don't get it too. It's like being a completely different human sometimes. And if you take away the titles, the podcaster, influencer, photographer, marketer, who are you?
I am just a woman who wants to leave an impact on this world. I want my mission to be for other people to be able to say I'm not alone and that I am enough. And I'm a woman learning to love herself. I am a passionate wife who really believes that marriage can be a beautiful thing. And I am a nutcase about my dogs, and I am obsessed with macaroni and cheese.
There you have it in a nutshell.
That's it.
Is there anything you've been thinking about doing that you haven't done? And it sounds like just your personality in general, you get shit done. And
I do.
I'm guessing that you don't kind of sit back and think, oh, I'm thinking about doing this. Why not now? Maybe down the road. That doesn't strike me as your vibe. But is there anything on the horizon that you have been thinking about doing that now's the time you're asking yourself, why not now?
I think I'm shutting down different parts of my business that are no longer serving me. And, it's one of those things where sometimes things don't have to be broken for them to just not be right anymore. So I've been traveling way too much, which is such an annoying complaint because I was a kid that never traveled. But I'm tired of being in hotel rooms and on airplanes. And so I'm going to start saying no to more things like speaking gigs and different things like that, just so that I really can say yes to the things that I've been yearning for, which is being home and waking up in my own bed and having weekends at the cabin and that kind of stuff. And so really it's just going more in a direction of really defining like what is my best life and figuring out how we can create a business that supports that and not a business where I'm running around doing things that I'm not fully passionate about.
I love that your answer was basically, why not now stop doing some things? Why not now consolidate or find a way to simplify but still be just as impactful, even more because you're doing so. So it's such a good takeaway of why not now. It doesn't always have to be creating and adding. That's a great note. And a couple of rapid fire questions and we'll wrap things up. Okay, so are you reading anything right now?
Oh, so I have a rule that I don't read business books. I only read for pleasure. So that's a rule of mine because I can get sucked into the strategy of things.
Okay.
And it makes my brain just rocket. So I made that rule about a year ago. So I've only been reading for fun. And I read Jodi Picoult. Her books are just amazing. She's an amazing author. I'm reading The Life of Pi right now, which I know came out like 10 years ago. And I don't know why I didn't read it then. But yeah, so I just read for fun every night. And if I need to ingest a business book, I'll do it Audible way.
Okay. And does that rule apply to personal development too?
Yep.
You consider that business?
I just can't read those. I got to read for fun.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's interesting. What keeps you up at night?
I think just thinking about our future and starting a family and what that will look like. I think I'm really excited about it. I think I'm nervous about it. But that's what's keeping me up at night.
And I do just want to take a minute to thank you for sharing so much about your fertility journey and being so open and honest. And I really appreciate that. It's people like you have helped me also open up on the topic. We recently did a show about that. So it's very powerful, and I appreciate that. And I'm sending very good positive energy and vibes your way on that front.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Pirates or ninjas? Who's tougher and why?
Oh my gosh. Well, pirates, because they're getting the booty. Somebody who loves booties. That would be my answer. But oh my gosh, I don't know. I did really love the Ninja Turtles growing up. And we always joke that our dogs look in the little grates every night when we go on our walks trying to find the pizza. But I'm going to stick with pirates on that one.
Fair enough. Good rationale. And then just the final question of if you could give some advice to your younger self at any age that you choose, what would that be?
I think it would be to lean into those things that we are prone to hide because we feel like we're broken, because I have connected with so many more people in such a deeper way by just shedding a light on some of the struggles and some of the mess of life. And I think that sometimes when we can lean into that hard stuff, it suddenly doesn't become as overwhelming, and it allows us to turn that mess into our message. And I think that is something that I wish I would have known, that those insecurities, those doubts, those fears, those failures, those are the things that will connect you so much more than the perfect and the retouched and the beautiful.
Great insight to end on. Well, Jenna, thank you so much for taking the time with us, and we're excited to follow more of your journey.
Thank you for having me. It was such an honor.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the show. Hit me up on social media to let me know what you think. I'm at Amy Jo Martin on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I want to hear your Why Not Now moments so I can share them on the show. Just send me a note to whynotnow@amyjomartin.com. For show notes and other offers, you can visit amyjomartin.com/whynotnow. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email newsletter for exclusive content and announcements. A big thanks to Rock Salt Music for all of the tunes by the talented John Coggins. And of course, a hat tip to Richard Brewer for editing and producing the show. I'll see you next time. And until then, why not now?